Part 3 of 1 Samuel, and I will pick up where I left off here. Let me get that ready. Ta-da, made it. Okay, and since I used the word leaders from the last time, oh no, these are leaders from our tribes, which these are more important people from the tribes, so they're get a capital letter L, meaning that they're the good guys, okay? I gather to Shiloh, not Mitzvah. A Mitzvah, I don't trust any of the maps that people have made up over the years. So what I've got here is Shiloh. And for those that don't know where Shiloh is at, Benjamin, Judah, Daniel, Shiloh is here. Bethel is going to become the new capital city. Saul is going to reign from here, and that's what the story is going to start talking about. And I put Gilgal, but I didn't have a lake, Gilgal here as a location where the city is at, but this is where Samuel came from. Right now we know he's from Ephraim. Let me show a little bit larger map here as to down here is where we're talking about right now. So all that said, and then these are the reasons why the blue text is being removed. And again, when I put a / this is what I'm changing this word to this word. All to leaders, being more descriptive of and truthful of the word to be used. And Shiloh, I'm just saying that that's the most important place right now, and this is where Samuel would have been living by. And the people that are sinning are to be removed from. Later, we see that Saul is going to kill off the spiritualists and conjurers. So we can see that some of the influence from other kingdoms is coming into play in the destruction of the Israel nation, or why they're all going to be sent into captivity. Against to battle, I'm thinking that's a pretty easy word to understand. They cried out to YV. That's what he does when he makes a plea to our Creator when he needs to talk to him. And then Samuel took a lamb, not a suckling lamb, but a lamb, and sacrificed it for not the whole burnt offering, but a peace offering. When it says burnt offering, that is wrong. That is a sin offering that they burn, and the burn is to show that it's going to be forgiven or forgotten by our Creator, to be forgiven, to make sure that they are. It's a visual representation of burning their meat, and then it'll be reduced to ashes, and ashes can be washed away as well. So the whole act of that is the offering, and you can't do a whole offering. You don't understand that the muscles that are going to be removed represent the action of the sin. But it is a peace offering, okay? And the peace offering is that the lords of Philistine went to battle with Israel, and what they would do is they would offer this peace offering to our Creator, and then since they're seeking His help, they would this peace offering is to show this to our Creator, and then He would help defend them. And it's also that Samuel is able to do this peace offering, which usually is the high priest's job. But at this time, Samuel is to do this. So there has been a change in the text, and we don't have any text of giving reasons why a prophet can make this peace offering. Even though he was with Eli is now dead, and he's on his own. He's still by Shiloh, and Samuel seems to be taken over as judge. Before, it's the highest priest would leave the priesthood at 50, and then they would become judge of all Israel. So now it's kind of like Samuel is the judge, and he's also able to do this offering. I have no true facts or reasoning why it's done. So it's just here. But this peace offering is what Jesus is going to be related as when they say here, John says, here comes the Lamb of God, Lamb from God. So the thing here is he's talking about the peace offering for the nation, or for the people forever. So I will explain more of that when I get into the text. But anyways, near to battle us, and why? Because thunder, because great thundering. Something had to do this confusion for them, and so great thundering is what I'm going to refer to, and not thundered. Why be thundered with great thundering? This is a thunder god, and we don't want a thunder god. In the text, we know who YV is. He's our creator. But YV caused the great thundering that confused, and they were defeated before us. Having to make it first person, you have to add a lot of the words us and our into the text. They weren't subdued, but they were beaten back, more or less. It means subdued, but they were beaten, and they did not come out to battle with us anymore. But the text is going to reflect that they do come back. So this word might get changed later. So just for you to understand that, I guess I'll make it this color. Samuel was our last judge for Israel after Eli. So I had to put who the last judge was in here, and not just this all the days of his life, because it wasn't all the days of his life. It would mean that he has to at least be 50 years old or more, because the other high priest, we don't have who is there, okay? And if Eli died and the next judge isn't there, this would also mean that the other judges before then that had retired high priests have passed away, and so much that Samuel is now going to be the judge, like Moses was talked to with our Creator. So Samuel was the prophet at that time, his prophet. So still trying to figure out what reasons are there. And he was appointed his son's judge over Israel. He did not have any sons. So this is just false, because the Levites were the judges, lawyer, and scribes. So this is not true at all. Then all our leaders for Israel, which would be from the 12 tribes, came to Samuel. And look, you have grown old and your sons are not following us. I would put not following him, but following us. They couldn't convince their sons, so they're more responsible than it would be for Samuel they're not following, so they're not following him. So what they want to do is to have him appoint a king over them, to rule over them, not to judge them, but to rule them. But this displeased Samuel, and he petitioned our Creator. So I'm using the word petition because he is asking our Creator, what should he do? And it's our Creator saying that they're rejecting me, not you. And they want Ra's. Okay, a couple things here I've had to add to serve other gods. If they want to be like other nations, which is up here, like all the kingdoms, that's what the text is being reflected here in this verse here. You see, I only have one major word here. While I'm using the word me is such an importance that is the second word in this verse. When this happens a few times in the text, and when it's talking of the importance of the subject, I have to say this is the second word to be used in that verse. And as they want a king, and then you got to warn them over their ruling, and below 9. Okay, when it talks about here about their kings and how they're ruling, this is a lot of the text of what I'm removing, but this is how other kings at that time would act, or rulers would act, just taking people and making them their subjects, personalizing their subjects. So, and they will cry out to him, which is our Creator, because of their kings, and that they have chosen for themselves, because they wanted the king. Okay. Nevertheless, the leaders, now I've got a little L because they aren't good, because they're against our Creator right now, refuse to listen to him, and they wanted to be like the other kingdoms. I had to tie the story together, so I'm using, then he told them, and this is the things that YV had told him about the judge. And then this is a story that's going to be separated because it's out of order. It's out of order. But it's starting to talk about who is going to become the king. And male Benjamin, his name was Kish. Well, this is he has a son named Saul. But introducing, just like David is from Jesse, this text is going to make sure that the father's name is mentioned, who he's from. And he's from Benjamin before. Okay. They have it as a Benjaminite. Okay, here. They have it a Benjaminite. Well, that's just wrong. Because they don't call them, they call themselves descendants from Benjamin, not that they are Benjaminite or whatever, but that's just added text that's not correct. Strong and fearless, valor is fearless, so changing that word to that word. Mighty is strong, changing that. And his oldest son, so I needed to add older here. Meaning that he had other sons, because when you see this text that he's taller than anyone, that means he has to be the older son. That's what it's implying, that he is not young. Later we're going to find out he's 20 years old. So his oldest son is what I've got added here in the text. Lost in the forest. Now, where are we talking about here? What, let me find an area map that can be blown up. Oops, it doesn't have them from. Okay, let me go back to here and blow this one up. Now, this is where he's going to come from, Saul. But it's that they have wandered into this area from what he's saying. When you look at the line here, this division, that's, I've almost made this as the top of a ridge line of hills, okay? Because there's no river, there's nothing here. So I'm thinking the next recognizable in the land that would make sure that they would be able to follow, it would be that it's this line of mountain ridges, or hills, not mountains. And so here I'm putting Bethel as going to be in this major spot later, but right now that's not established. So this map is pretty much saying these things, or because I've made maps and I didn't, once they're completely introduced, then I establish where these are at. But it's just that Bethel was mentioned, but where is Bethel? So the thing here is that's what I've done here. But this is the area that's being talked about, and this is why Samuel lives here now. He goes to Shiloh, but he's also going to here. That seems to be his hometown. So he was walking through Ephraim's and did not find them. And when he's asking the servant to return, then he says, look, Gelga. So that's why I just mentioned where this is at. I've had to say that he's from a city, and I know later that they bury him next to this city. So the thing here is I'm sure that this city is definitely called out in the text where Simon is, or Samuel is from. So, and this is a city. Now, also this city, because it might be a refuge city. So, just to let you know why I'm referring to it as a city. A city is pretty well built up, and it would have been established over a long time. So the refuge cities were the first villages set up in each tribe's land to have like a court system for those that had murdered or accidentally killed somebody. They had a city that was a refuge for them to go to seek justice. Now, about to where, I'm thinking that's pretty easy to understand here. Those are easy. A woman to a girl. Woman would be too old. Girls go out to get the water. Yeah, I added that to make the story complete. It was kind of like missing in here, and he is not a seer. That's a pagan's way of looking at a seer, or what else do they call them? And not a prophet, but no, if Samuel is here, they would have known who Samuel is and where he's from. So that's why I put the word Samuel here and not prophet is here. He will meet. He's to come to the city today for the people. But actually, the request is in the story above that they're asking for a king. So those leaders would have sent their trusted representative, which are commanders, because they're in control of their army for that tribe. So I'm using the words commander, and he was to meet with them to discuss about the king, who's going to become the king. So here's the story where YV told him the day before, I will send you a male from Benjamin's, and he will anoint him, and you will anoint him as king, not as be a prince, but king. That's what they were asking for. So again, wrong words being used in the text. Having to add the word commanders, eat with our commanders, and you are the one everyone wants as king. Now I had to add this text because you don't understand that is desirable in Israel if it's not for you and all your father's household. This is absolutely garbage being stuck in here because the story is that they asked for a king. So I had to put that into the text of why he's meeting with the commanders. Now the subjects all kind of flow together when I've corrected those words. And he wouldn't call himself a Benjamite, so I'm not Benjamin, the smallest of the tribes. And then Samuel took Saul. No, he brought Saul and gave him and seated him in the seat, gave him a seat, but gave him a place. Well, actually, they're going to meet and discuss, so they're going to sit at a table, I believe, or that's the way I would assume that's what's going on. They weren't poor at this time. They would have been sitting in by a table and seats. In the middle of those, not at the head of those, but in the middle, who were invited, and the invited were as the commanders for the tribe. When you read this later, this still is kind of like not really connecting together, but you have to have the words commanders for the tribes because that's the subject of what's going on here. And then they were there to meet with Saul, and Saul's bringing him in here. And then with Saul, instead of all this, giving him a double portion, whatever, we're going to get rid of all that crap. And example, about 30 men. Well, there's only 12 commanders would have been in charge, so 30 is way too wrong. And then he was taking out his drinking hide, not a flask, but his drinking hide with his oil, and announced that he is YV's anointed your king and ruler. I had to add the king, ruler over his inheritance. Well, this is because I'm just trying to read it without having that in there. And is he not? And he said, has not YV anointed? He was told to anoint him. So this kind of adding this text doesn't make any sense. But the oil that's being used comes from the pitcher of oil that's used to refill the lamps to burn all day in his meeting room with our Creator. That's what his oil is about. And this is what's used to anoint him, because nobody can actually walk in and get this oil. So they have to be definitely a priest. But Samuel was told to go get the oil. And he is your king and ruler, king and lord. I could have used the word Lord here, king and Lord. King means that he's going to be able to assemble people for war, but as a lord, he is to dictate over you. Same thing as a ruler. might change the word ruler here later to Lord. And all this stuff doesn't need to be in existence. It just doesn't make any sense. After he's been chosen, he's not going to go around with prophets. We already know prophets are rare at this time. So now all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of them showing up. And then Saul becomes a prophet. Well, that's just not true. Well, because prophet talks to our Creator, and Saul needs Samuel to talk to our Creator. And he does that several times in the text. Now, these people don't exist anymore. Okay? That group used to live in this area, I think. One of these two areas. But the object is Moab and Ammon. Okay, they're up in here. So that's where they're talking about. But they don't exist anymore. They were killed off. These people show up all the time in the text, and yet they killed the women and children, chased them off. So anybody as an Amorite living in the area were to be killed off. They weren't supposed to exist. They didn't allow people to come and live on their land. You had to be an Israeli to inherit the land. So, but Amaleks, where's Amaleks? Amaleks are down here. And as you can see from the map, that they existed here. And this is where Moses down here fought with them. So this is where Amaleks did not let them pass into the promised land. And then they had to go from here around here to enter into the promised land. But the object is this is where the battle took place, and it was Amalek's. So now you know about where the people are located. And they came up to Simon's. Now, let's see. Do I have... I guess that was the best I have. What do I got? I got the Philistines living down here and Amalek's living in here. The Philistines were pushed down here under Solomon's, but the Amaleks were here, and then they're going to be removed by Saul and David. But right here, I'm thinking Saul did pretty much, but he didn't kill them all off. That was the problem with Saul not obeying our Creator. But this is the area, and they were coming up into here. This area here was Amalek's, but later it become it was added to. See, this is the first boundary line, and then it was expanded after Saul killed them. So let me try to make sense here of this. See, this is, oops, again, that's Jesus' time. But you can see that I had Samuel was in the living here in this land here, given to him by our Creator, because when they were sent out as spies, this is where they went, and our Creator told them that He would give them this land here, but the land didn't go down farther. Well, I'm just see. This was been Amalek's down here, but now it's become Judah. A little confusing, but I got maps that will go in and show areas much clearer than what I just pointed out. I just can't find them right offhand here. Anyways, that's why it's Simon's, this guy. And this is the city that they're talking about, and I'm not sure if this city even exists. I'm going to leave it in as it is. And this would have been a refuge city, okay? But we also know that, what was the other cities here? Hebron and Bethel, or Bethlehem. Hebron might have been the city as the refuge city, okay? But for Simon, I don't see anything here. So maybe that is the refuge city for Simon's, okay? And then not send our messengers, but our runners, our runner. Like I said, they had messengers, but the messengers were actually runners that they could run these distances quicker. And things like that. It's just a better use of the word than messengers to understand that time. I'm trying to differentiate the difference between a messenger and a runner. Runners were for the tribes, and messengers were from the king. Okay. Had to add this verse to complete the sentences here. Had to add his name here, not told him these words. We need to know whose words he was talking about. And his runners, because he's not really truly a king in the way the text is right. Well, he is and he isn't. Maybe he sent his messengers. Yeah, I'm going to have to use the word his messengers and get rid of the word runner here. And then I got to change that later. So let me copy this and paste it over here in my cheat sheet. Get rid of that and get this. And put that here and then highlight that. Let's edit that needs to be done. So there, live editing. And that would be true with this word here. I don't know why the Windows doesn't allow that, so that's to use the back button when getting into those words to erase from the text. So I'll have to check the other verses as well, but those two are popping up and I see them, so they need to be changed. And you will have deliverance. You will have help. Deliverance is yet to happen. So don't want to use the word ahead of time. Because now they battled. Saul struck down. Well, he actually battled with Amalek. Okay. Now, this isn't the first time that he's going to wipe them out, but this is the first battle that he has with Amaleks. And like I said, these don't exist anymore. Then Saul told his army, this day YHVH has given a deliverance for Simon's and all of Israel. This is why I'm representing the nation of Israel. When it's all capital letters like this capital, that means they're the good guys right now. They're in disarray, that they're bad guys. they aren't following our Creator is what they did because they wanted their own king. So I can't say that they're all following because all 12 of them asked for this. So asked for their king to be like another nation. Our Creator said, "This is my nation." And they're refusing our Creator. These are the commanders that were there, need to be put there, and let us go to Shiloh. See, this is where he was at the city where Saul was at, and now they're going to Saul to renew our nation. Okay? And this is Samuel saying this, and it's kind of like in the middle of nowhere. This is a 3-verse format, and this is a 4-verse, so this is a space to where other text might go, but it's a separation of stories. So you can tell that the first writers wrote in this format, and this writer was writing in this type of format. And they are hard to find, but when you do them, I probably did this 3 or 4 times before I realized that, hey, I can't connect these to be 3 because it's dividing up. So when I put them into 4, these are small paragraphs. These make the small paragraphs. Made to proclaim Saul is our king. This would have been a confirmation that the king was successful, and because I'm not sure how the stories are going to go to whether this was before or after. Okay. And then here's that peace offering for war. That's so. The sacrifice of peace offering, then for Israel to go into battle, and everyone was delighted. So this is usually before they go into war. Okay. So maybe it's a piece that they've reestablished the whole nation of Israel. So, anyways, confusing now. Wait until it goes together in pieces. Okay, I'm getting close to the time where I have to end this video. Yeah, this is pretty easy here to understand that editing. And here again, he's caused this thundering. That was mentioned in the last video, so some of this text will help me put those verses together as putting pieces together to a puzzle that I would stick them with when they're going to fight them. And Saul was 20 years, and like I said, this is coming from our Creator's formats. These adjustments here, and ruled over Israel. And here Saul chose a force of not 1,000 men, but 100 men to live with him in Bethel. So this is where Saul establishes the Bethel as the capital city where he lives. So it's now replacing Shiloh as the main city for the people. Other than that, the judges were living out of Shiloh. Okay, I'm going to stop here and then continue later in the next video with this verse here. Yeah, that text just doesn't need to be added. It doesn't. A lot of times I'm removing text just because it's not important to us today. So I also have the list of reasons why. And this should have been yellow. But I will continue in the next video.